video conference call on Zoom. I will continue with this opening statement. This meeting is being webcasted live and a recording will be available on the library's website a few days after the meeting. This board meeting will address essential business only. Be the following items on the agenda today. We have two people here for public comment, Chuck from the Beatley Friends and someone from the Duncan Friends, Doug, will be here. We'll have to approve the September meeting minutes. I have very few comments from the chair's position. The library director will give us an update and we'll get a treasurer's report from Karen. Robert will give us an investment committee report, and Rose will give us a presentation of the 2023 budget update and discuss the reopening plan in a quote new normal. In light of the special authority for this meeting, we are only authorized to discuss these agenda items. Listeners who have not pre-registered to speak at this meeting may submit questions via email to libraryboard@alexlibraryva.org with the understanding that the board will need at least 24 hours to respond. So I'm going to ask the library director, Rose Dawson, to call the roll.
Trudy Hahn.
Here.
Robert Ray.
Here.
Patsy Rogers. Patsy Rogers. Okay, she raised her hand. She didn't unmute herself.
I did.
Okay. Karen Marshall.
Present.
Kathleen Schlater.
Here.
Elizabeth Bennett Parker.
Here.
And Oscar Fitzgerald.
So we will note that Oscar is either going to be able to attend or he's not here at this time. So thank you, Rose. And anyone who's calling in by phone, and I think that's right now, that's Elizabeth. Please remember to state your name each time prior to speaking. Okay. All right, let's go on then directly to public comment. And please let's start with Chuck Ziegler. You there, Chuck? You'll have to unmute, Chuck.
Got it?
Yeah, great.
Good, thank you. Yes, for the Friends of the Beatley Central Library, annual memberships as of November 30th, 2021 were 75. Lifetime memberships as of November 30th were 16, and total memberships as of November 30th, 91. So things are going up very slowly, but they are going up. So with the current emergency or the continuation, the more acute continuation of the emergency, it's hard to say how this is all going to play out. But we live in hope and we proceed. The Beatley Friends held a holiday flash sale on November 20th, realizing $3,070.11. Online book sales in November, handled by our two dealers, totaled $290.17. As of November 30th, 2021, our total current assets were $167,667.24. Net income for the month of November, minus funds for adult programs of $395.49, and for children's programs of $40, was $4,686.09. The Beatley Friends contributed 309 volunteer hours valued at $7,725. A budget for the 2022 calendar year of $51,238 was unanimously approved. And I submitted by email to the board a copy of my remarks as well as the attachment, which has the budget broken down so you can see what we're using the money for. And the Friends volunteers sorted and delivered 31 boxes of like new children's books that had various charitable organizations. And that attachment 2 indicates the organizations that were to which we contributed. I have no further remarks with regard to the Friends. Just on a personal note, this is most likely my last presentation to this august group, as my wife and I are going to be moving to Fredericksburg sometime in the first half of 2022. It has been quite an experience to have been representing the Beatley Friends here for, I don't know, about 5 years, I'm guessing there, but it's been a long time. Time flies when you're having fun. So, so I want to thank everybody who was a member of the board currently and past for their courtesy with which they've received me, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Chuck, we so appreciate, you've been giving these reports since I was on the board. It's never been a time when you haven't given a report. So I can't imagine you not being there, but congratulations to you and your wife on your move. And
thank you. Charles de Gaulle said the cemeteries are full of indispensable people. So.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your tireless, dedicated, continuous service. It's amazing.
Well, that can be said of everybody among the Friends, I would say. That there's a remarkable group of people who kept the Friends going and contribute, I venture to say, a lot to the Beatley Library.
That's certainly true, but Chuck, you not only have been very faithful in giving reports to the board of directors, but you've also been a good spokesperson for the libraries with city council, and we really appreciate that contribution as well. So.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a second Friends report from the Duncan Library. Doug Wade. Doug, are you on?
Oh dear.
Doug, we can see a photograph, but we can't hear you.
He's muted.
Yeah, he's unmuted. Great.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, welcome.
Okay. Well, I'm Doug Wade, and this is the first report that I've given. I've been the president for about 3 or 4 years, I think, and it's been a wonderful experience. I don't know if I need to read it all. I could just highlight some of the interesting things, or if you'd just like to read it.
Highlights would be great. That'd be wonderful.
Okay, we are obviously similar to the Beatley Library. We're a little smaller, but we also had 3 pop-up book fairs and earned several $1,000s. We currently have about $62,000 in cash, and we have 183 members. We have some real high-tech people on the board, and so we're trying to get ourselves into places like Facebook and other things to make ourselves more visible. Let's see. And we've had ads in different local, the Zebra and other places. We're kind of especially proud of the fact, I think we were the first people to provide the library with funds for Zoom meetings, and the Duncan Library has had a lot of wonderful programs using Zoom. And I think it's interesting, we've got a family that the last 3 years has donated their minimum federal required distribution from the 401k to the library. And we had another family where her husband, the man died, and his sister identified the Duncan Library Friends as the place for donations, and we got $600 from that family's saying that. So the Friends are very excited about the work that's being done. We also do a couple of things that maybe other libraries don't. We've got a wonderful garden that we support on all 4 sides of the library, and I recommend you come look at it sometime when it's in bloom. And we also have a movie group out of the library, and which is very active and meets once a month. So I would, anything you'd like to know for future reports, or how often you, I guess I'm not sure how often you guys meet. Is it
We meet about every 2 months, and the schedule
Okay.
is on the library's website.
okay?
Um,
So would it be helpful? This is, I think somebody asked us to prepare a report, so this is the first one, so.
I think our next meeting is February 24th. Is that correct?
Okay, well, that's,
Put it on your calendar. We'd love to
That's
have you
great.
come back.
okay, well, good, thank you. I'm a longtime friend of Oscar Fitzgerald, or my daughters went to high school classmates, and so I know how supportive he's been of the library too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Doug. Really appreciate it, and we're glad you came, and we hope you come back. Okay. And this is like step 2 in my desire and my wish to hear from all of the friends groups on a somewhat regular basis. And so we've got to work on Barrett. I'm a member of Barrett, and
Well,
I know they had a book sale this fall. I can see the evidence in the lobby, but I'd like to have a report at the meeting as well. Okay, all right, let's move on the agenda then to approve the minutes from September 20th, 2021. Has everybody had a chance to look at them, and are there any comments on them?
If there are no comments, I move we approve the minutes of September the 20th, 2021.
Thank you, Kathleen. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Thank you, Patsy.
Well,
Okay, all in favor of approving the September minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Good. I call it unanimous. Thank you. The October minutes will be ready for the February meeting. There's been a little bit of delay there because of Laura wasn't here, and she's having to prepare them from the tape, right, Laura? Yeah, okay.
That's
Okay.
correct. Thanks.
Good. All right, the next thing on the agenda is the chair's report, and I only have a couple of very brief comments. First of all, I do want to thank Kim Knight, the assistant director, for reporting back to the board via email on the efforts of the Virginia Library Association to support libraries in the state who are facing intellectual freedom challenges, which has been, well, it's been ongoing since forever, but it was like recently there have been a number more of them. And she did share with the board the letters that have gone from the VLA to the local school boards or superintendents, asking them to reconsider recent actions and to uphold the intellectual freedom of students and the public. So thank you very much for Kim for doing that. And the second thing is that Kathleen, a little while back, had noted that, asked us about whether or not the Burke Library art that's so beautiful during the day, but you can't see it at night because it's not lit up like we had hoped. She wanted to know what was happening there. And we did get a memo back from Diane Ruggiero from the city, and explaining that they're starting the process of replacing and relocating the sign that's out front that to a certain extent blocks the facade. And she expects that to be completed in the spring. And as part of that project, she says, we'll remove the existing sign and determine if the electrical connection for the current sign can be repurposed to light the artwork. We also want to be mindful of light shining in the windows at night, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And she says, if the current system cannot be repurposed, we'll look at a new system, but that will depend on cost and other factors. So we'll stay tuned to that. But thank you, Kathleen, for pointing that out. So good. Okay, that's my director's reports. Let's move to Rose's report.
Okay. So I'd like to begin, as I have the last couple of meetings, with a update pertaining to the mask mandate. And based on the CDC case tracker. Alexandria as a city is in a high transmission category, and this is based on the level of community transmissions. It's the number of cases per 100,000 persons in the past 7 days. So that's 272.5 when all it has to be is over 100. So we're fairly high, and it has caused, I think, considerable concern for the city as the city manager rolled out on Friday that they would be rolling back their office hours to their pre-September levels. They've had a number of staff report positive cases that have come out of City Hall and the different departments there. When you look at the dashboard for the city, the 7-day moving average of COVID-19 cases is 64, so that's a 26.4%. When you look at the vaccination status, 68% of all residents 12 and older are fully vaccinated, while 78.9% are partially or fully. So that means they have at least one dose or more. And I know I've reported on these numbers before and they were a little higher, but if you look at it, it was based on the fact prior to when children were eligible to be vaccinated. And now that you have pretty much anyone who's over 5 years old, then this is why this number appears to have dropped from numbers that I reported upon in the past. I'd like to, at this point, talk about the thing which is consuming the library right now, and that is the COVID at-home test kits. You will recall that the Alexandria Library was the only library system in Northern Virginia that signed on to be a part of the pilot project that the Virginia State Department was rolling out. It was based on a program that they were looking to model after the libraries that were doing in Ohio. Rolled out rather quickly, November the 15th. We found ourselves after a couple of days running out of the numbers that we had estimated we would need. So we had really, I must say, I calculated because the managers did expect people to be interested in them more than I did. And then of course, when we did order more packets, more boxes, because of the Thanksgiving holiday and the fact that people were traveling, and regardless of your vaccine status, people need to be able to show a kit, a negative test within the last 24 or 48 hours, depending, then we really found ourselves recognizing that once the Christmas holiday rolled around that we were going to need far more. So since that time, we have consistently been ordering kits. A box, for example, has 72 different kits in it. And so we, on December the 8th, Jean Gregorio ordered 30 boxes. And so within 10 days time, we are totally out. So today, all phone calls first thing this morning, and you really have people who are rather smart about things when they manage to call the director's direct line and ask whether or not we have any kits. But yes, I even fielded calls this morning. The phones started jumping off the hook starting at 9 a.m., even though we don't open until 10 a.m. So at this point, we are out of stock. And starting December the 9th, Arlington and Fairfax began offering and making the kits available. And in email correspondence with my colleagues, they too are out of stock and do not have any kits. And so we are all sort of waiting and hoping that we will receive some within the next couple of days. based on the orders that we made, based on the interest that these have. We suspect we will probably run out again, but understanding we're only open 3 days this week. The city celebrates the holiday on the 23rd and the 24th because they give staff Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Because Christmas Day is on a Saturday and the average employee doesn't work a Saturday, then the city gives them the 23rd. And because we are open on Saturdays, this board voted and supported my recommendation because who was going to come to a library on the 25th? So we are indeed closed. So that means there will be 3 days there. So if we're fortunate enough to get the supplies by tomorrow or Wednesday, we suspect that they will possibly fly off the shelves. And if they don't, when we open back up on Sunday from 1 to 5, that there will be great demand for them. So that is the thing that has been keeping all of us rather busy right now. Now, when I report on the city ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Fund grant based on the city funding, while the test kits have been jumping off the shelves, we did a soft launch. You'll recall that the ARPA funds we received supported the hotspots and the outdoor programming. Outdoor programming has been well attended. It's winter. However, we've had some nice 56-degree days. And I'll have to say that the demand for the program, one particularly that we can see out of our windows up here, is a children's story time that occurs in the reading garden. And you see them all bundled up in coats. And Kim made the comment, oh my gosh, look at those, why those people have those kids outside and it's cold? I said, oh, Kim, you've forgotten what it's like to have somebody less than 5 years old and who needs to run. So, you bundle them on up and you let them go out and play. And it had at least 25 to 30 people out there. And it was fun to just sit here from the office and watch them run around with these coats on, and they had brought blankets and they're sitting on things. So I'll have to say, so that Chuck knows, the friends are going to be buying certain little cushions and inflatable sort of seating for programs that are going to continue to be outside as we do outdoor programming. It'll start back up where all libraries are concerned in the spring. And so the Beatley Friends are going to help pay for that sort of equipment, if you will, is what has been shared with me by Diana. So our hotspots, they haven't been flying off the shelf, but the fact that we made this gift to the public available during the holiday season so that they know that they are here. And 50 hotspots were made available for folks to start checking out so they can place a hold and come and get them. It started December the 13th. We did a soft launch. We didn't make any big fanfare about it or anything, but from that soft launch, and if folks are visiting our website, there are 8 hotspots that are currently checked out, with there being 2 hold requests for them. So that means we'll have approximately 10 circulating, which is not a bad number considering most people are going on vacation. They're taking the holidays off. School is closing. And so people don't really have that high of a demand for them right now. So we suspect once after the new year and life goes back to normal, people go back to work, kids go back to school, then they probably will become more popular, and we'll make more of an effort to promote them as well.
Are these available in all the branches?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and so people find out about them through signage, or?
We have signs up. We did put something on our website, as well as there's a flyer, but we did not do a huge press release. We don't have a communications officer right now. And so we did some low-level sort of push. putting it on social media so that people are aware. But we do realize that those types of venues are places for people who already have access. And we're trying to get the audience who don't. So we're connecting with listservs such as the Alexandria Council of Human Services Organizations, OXO. That is a group of nonprofits that interact with the audiences that we really want to make this information available. And so we're trying to work more closely with them. So we really are waiting until the holiday goes away to then do a real push through those types of groups. So our ECF grant, that's the grant that the Emergency Connectivity Fund, where we got the money for the Chromebooks. I just want you to know that I mentioned the Chromebooks have arrived, but we're looking at the purchasing of the necessary cases, and there's some other little software so that we'll be able to control them and make sure that they're operable. And then just basically, poor Brandon's been focused on doing the hotspots. He's also been focused on trying to help run the website because the digital services librarian worked for him. So he has picked up all of those responsibilities. And so that is why as we're trying to prioritize the work that he is currently doing, then the Chromebooks will be our next piece of technology that we will be rolling out and making the public aware. Human resources. So as you're aware, we lost our communications officer, and then we lost our digital services librarian a week later. And with both those positions being vacant, while it's been somewhat of a challenge, I would like to thank the staff for stepping up to the plate and trying to fill some of the holes and the void that those two positions have left, so that we have been able to at least do some modicum of the communicating our services, things like the COVID test kits and the hotspots. We were fortunate enough that through the finance department, the city's finance office, I made the announcement or reminded people in a city manager department head meeting that we did not have a communications person. And so they have loaned us their person, and he is coming a couple of days a week to help out. So we're very grateful to their assistance. And just the fact that we have a number of staff who are stepping outside of their classifications. If we were a unionized organization, we could possibly have gotten in trouble for this, but because we're not, and we have staff who have volunteered because they have certain skills, then we have been able to take advantage of the fact that there are people who are helping us out. For example, Diana Price is running this meeting, and she's now the person who is handling a lot of the social media pieces that are being posted on our behalf. And so just wanted to point that sort of thing out. However, we have posted the communications position. Ross Farley, our HR manager, has been receiving them, and there have been a number of applications that have been submitted. And what is taking place at this time is Ross is taking them, and we have, of course, a rubric that allows him to determine a person's qualifications and whether or not they qualify for the job. And so as he is handling that aspect of the process, he'll then forward those applications that he filters onto Laura, because the communications position reports to her, and she'll be able to start scheduling interviews, if you will. We have not posted the digital services position just yet. It was a new position for us, and based on the work that that individual did, and then based on her exit interview, some of the things she recommended, she thought that the position should be responsible for, then we have stepped back. And what Kim is now doing is she is looking at She's benchmarked what other jurisdictions have done if they have a similar position, so that we can determine where this position actually belongs, whether or not it has the actual responsibilities that it should. And so it may require us to do some reorg where that is concerned. And that's why this position has not been posted yet. Any questions on anything I said thus far? Good
No
deal.
question, but I think that's great that you're taking advantage of the fact that you've got the open position to rethink it.
So facilities, the Beatley Library, if you visited, you'll notice we still have a big hole in the ground and a number of cones that are marking the area off to keep it safe. And so due to a technicality pertaining to the paperwork where this project was concerned, the parking lot contractors had to stop in November, right before Thanksgiving. General Services has gotten with them, as well as the city's planning and zoning and transportation and environmental services, so that all of whatever the challenge was or the problem was, we were told today by General Services that everything is now as it should be. And so they are looking for the contractor to start the project back up around the second or third week in January. So we're hoping to move forward on that, and they hope that the project will then end in March. The other facility I'd like to just give a brief update on is the Burke Library. Kathleen asked about the first floor, where that is concerned. Kimberly, Janelle, the branch manager at Burke, and I met with the General Services project manager to discuss the Burke first floor. And after meeting with us, he informed us that he will then be moving forward with a timeline of what the next steps are to be for us. He will be sending us some documents that we will need to review. Things that include things such as the potential scope of work and that sort of thing to move that project forward. And so what it's going to mean is after the holidays, the three of us will be getting together so that we can look at what it was we thought, because you've got to remember, this has been over 2 years. Renee DiVolato was here. We were basing any of the suggestions and ideas on the surveys and the data we had received from our former 5-year plan, in which we had input from the folks in that zip code. So we don't want to, while the data is dated, it still may have some validity. And so we want to make sure that we're moving forward properly on this, so that we still have the 21st century type of library that we're hoping to get out of that. If there are no other questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Rose. Are there any questions from the board members for Rose on any of these points that she brought up? Yes, Kathleen, you're, please unmute.
Yep. Is all the money that was in their CIP and the budget for the planning, is that all still there for the Burke first floor?
Kathleen, that was one of the first things we asked about. It does show up in the CIP book as being there, and we verified that it is indeed still there.
Okay.
Our concern is, as the cost of things have gone up, it's not going to be enough. And so recognizing that we may find ourselves having to ask for additional dollars. And so we want to make sure that we get it right, as far as if we're going to ask for more money, then we actually have a true reflection of what we think needs to go there. You'll recall most of the conversation had been solely about just updating that first floor. And we are aware that some of the folks at that time felt like if they could be allowed to look at renovating or mixing in the top floor with changes they were recommending for the first floor, that it would have a more consistent flow. And so we're kind of feeling that that makes a lot of sense. We waited this long, so it may not be wise to just look at simply doing the first floor. We may need to add that component as well.
Are you allowed to share what you're, either Janelle or you all are thinking about when you say the flow?
At this point, we want to get the information from him. And Kimberly is actually you'll notice that we're collecting information pertaining to the current 5-year plan. So Janelle is really trying to make sure that she gets some input from the community on that side. And so we are going to be trying to get hear the voice of folks from that neighborhood. And so we absolutely will want the voice from this board as well. So we'll probably come to you with some thoughts and ideas. And like I said, with the 5-year plan, you all may end up being somewhat of a focus group, or we may do some executive interviews with a couple of you, just to sort of make sure that we capture that sort of information where not just Burke is concerned, but as we look at ourselves as a system, where you think we're falling short and where we could have more facilities or a library presence as well. So there will be more to come on that.
Good questions, Kathleen. Thank you, Rose. Is there anyone else who has questions about Rose's report? Okay. All right, well then let's move along to the treasurer's report from Karen.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. First off, before I get started, I wanted to say a big thank you to Laura Gates for helping me as I assume the role of treasurer. I appreciate her and her patience with me. So just to confirm, Trudy, you wanted me to do the regular library board meeting and the Duncan reporting for the treasury, both?
No, just the regular board meeting.
Just the regular board. Okay, got it. So we are 42% through the year and just around the same percentage of how much we've spent for the budget. It's at 41%. We have spent 64% of our state aid funds, which covers down on our subscription fees and our database costs. So that's why it's a little bit higher, because those are paid annually at the beginning of the year. The library has made $60,047, which is about 48% of the requirement of $126,000 in fees revenue. And then the law library has received $10,357 year to date in filing fees. And that's just the comparison between the budget versus the actual report. I believe that's all that I have for the treasurer's report. Back over to you, Trudy.
Oops, thank you. Any questions for Karen? Okay. I think we're up to the investment committee report from Robert.
As of November 30th, 2021, the calendar year-to-date portfolio performance was 8.94%, higher than the benchmark of 7.57%. The performance over the last 12 months was 12.03%, as compared with the benchmark of 10.86%. As of November 30th, 2021, the year-to-date market value of the library's investment account was $3,961,090.65. That concludes the report.
All good, all good. But are there any questions for Robert? Good. Okay, so I think we can move to old business. Rose, you will give us a budget update, and this is looking forward to 2023. Is that correct? Rose, you're muted and we can't see your face either. Rose, are you still with us? You're muted and There you
My
are.
apologies. I went out to talk to Jean. She called Oscar and he's going to be logging on momentarily. So
Great.
would you mind repeating?
Well, we're moving right along and now we're under old business and we have you down for a budget update for the 2023 budget plan.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. So with the 23 budget update, so you all will recall that the library is a part of the Healthy and Thriving Focus Area Team, the FAT group, which consists of DCHS, Human Services, Health Department, Parks and Recreation, and libraries. And we've had 3 meetings to discuss the budget reductions. Now, the FAT target reduction is or was $2.2 million. So that means everybody in that group had to come with their submissions. And then what we do is we use this tier system. It's a priority system. So it has tiers 1 through 4. And tier 1 is where you place those items that you really, the reductions you say, these absolutely have, this has to absolutely be saved. So it's not, this is something I do not want the city manager to even consider. And then you're able to work your way down. Tier 2 is my second top priority. And then, so we all eventually get to a point where we're sort of negotiating which things fall under which categories. So for the library, my tier 1 that I told them based on an equity issue is Sunday hours. That was something the board did not want them to touch at all. What ended up in tier 1 also for me were the security guards, especially given the challenging times that we're in with the mask mandates and everything. The guards have proven to be invaluable. My tier 2 item that survived was the talking books position. It's an equity issue, and while that's a small audience, it has the potential to do some other things. And so we did not want that to fall too far down, but that ended up in tier 2. Then we had tier 3. So the materials landed in tier 3. That was a supplemental that we sent forward. Oh, I love it, Elizabeth. So our materials was a request. This was a supplemental request saying that if there's extra money, these are projects that we feel strongly we need and we would like for you to fund. So the number 1 materials ended up in tier 3 for me. And then hotspots. So we were able to fund the hotspots through our grant, the ARPA funds. But after June the 30th, then it will be on us to absorb that program, or maybe it's October 1st they expire, I can't remember. But it will be on us to come up with that $30,000. And so we were making them aware of the fact that, number 1, there's still ARPA funds available, even though a good portion of them may already be committed by the city, but we wanted them to know that this is something from tranche 1 that is worthy of being funded in tranche 2. So our hotspots then ended up under the ARPA request as a supplemental. And then we're trying to do a Microsoft 365 migration. And this is an internal thing. So for the library, because we're not behind the city's firewall, then we do all our own stuff. So we have rack space and we use some other things, whereas the rest of the city uses Microsoft Office and they use Teams and all of that. So because we're not with them, then communicating with the city sometimes is rather problematic. We don't always receive information. For example, all staff last year should have received information pertaining to open season and health benefits and the bonuses and all that sort of thing. We didn't get those emails. Somehow, because we weren't a part of the system, we were left off. And so Ross has been working to try and make that out. So Kim submitted a supplemental request for them to help us pay for that. When we realized that the city's contract was up for renewal, we asked if we couldn't piggyback on their contract. And they were supportive of that happening. Initially, the dollar amount that came back sounded very affordable. We knew that was too good to be true because we had looked into it years ago. And so once Brandon and Kim and Laura and I got on a call with them, there were additional things that came out of that. So it was nowhere near as cheap as they were claiming it would be. And that's the contractors, not the city. So what has happened is we had set aside a certain amount to cover this, but we don't have enough. And so in this particular supplemental request, I am asking the city if they will pay for half of it. So if they can give us $13,500, we've got the other $13,500, then that will allow us to have the emails. We'll have a bridge, if you will, between us and the city so that these communication challenges, they can't see our calendars, we can't see their calendars, we can't see each other's calendars. And so we really do need something that's a bit more savvy than what we're working with. And so that's another request. It's an efficiency that we've made as far as asking the city to honor that supplemental request. You will recall that the big one for us that you sent forward that matched with the city manager's priority was compensation. And that was based on the fact that we did not, we knew that we were far behind our peer jurisdictions when it comes to recruiting, and it's because our compensation levels are so low. And I am going to ask Ross if he won't speak to this with you all because he's been handling this for us. And so while we submitted it in the budget, it was pulled out separately, which I was told is a good thing. Because of the high price tag that's going to come with it. So I don't know, Ross, if you can.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize. I'm having some camera issues, so I can't be on camera.
We did see you briefly, Ross, but then you came and you went.
So I can't share my screen. I had some notes I wanted to share with you, but that's okay. So I want to let you all know that the library, beginning of the year, requested that the city audit our positions and perform a market study, specifically with our library assistant and library associate job series. So just to give you an indicator of how many positions that is, that's about 40% of our workforce. We're about 45 positions. Those are positions typically in CERC. The city they audited the positions and compared the salaries for those jobs against what they consider competitors. Those are systems in the area, but don't include certain systems like DC. And so they found that we are behind the market 12 to a little over 20% when compared to those systems. And then if you were to compare us with DC, who we do compete with, but the city doesn't consider a competitor, or the Library of Congress, we would be over 20%. We'd be approaching 30+%. So that means library assistant 1s, 2s, 3s, associates, they all have to be adjusted somewhere between 12 and 20% just to be competitive. And that's not making those jobs be paid more than anyone in the area, just be competitive. And then, of course, you might be asking, well, what about our librarians? So we also requested that the city perform the same study with our librarian series. So the city is still in the process of performing that study. We've submitted a large amount of paperwork to the city for that, but that would be an additional 35% of our workforce that would be impacted. And I can tell you internally, we have looked at Fairfax County, Prince William County, Arlington County, and Montgomery County. These are systems that the city does consider competitors. And we found that our librarians are 10 to over 20% behind the market. So we can expect that once the city completes its study of these positions, that we will need to do an adjustment, not just for our library assistants, but for our librarians. And I believe we estimated, Laura helped us estimate that this would be near $80,000 increase to the budget, just to make us competitive. Again, we're like 20% behind the market.
Not 80,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was 80,000.
Is that right, Laura?
No, I could pull it up, but it's hundreds of thousands.
Oh.
Yeah, it's 800, I think, thousand.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. I
Oh.
dropped to zero. That's why I'm not in finance. So, but yeah, so it's quite a significant amount of money, and where we see this quite frequently in staff leaving, and it's very difficult for us to fill. And then when we want to recruit for diversity, it makes it extremely difficult. So we're hoping that the city can complete its market study soon. And once they do that, then the next step will be for us to be working with budget to adjust the compensation for these positions. Thank you.
Just to clarify, it's about 765,000. Just pulled up the document again.
Thank you.
Of course.
Kathleen, comment, question?
No, just a quick question. Ross, librarians, you said they were approximately 35% of the workforce. How many full-time positions is that?
It's about 20, a little over 20, I think it's 22 positions. I'd have to count again, but it's about a little over 20 positions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question. Is the 800,000, is that both of those categories or just
Yes,
the
sir.
librarian? Okay.
Both. Yeah.
And I should add in, it includes other compensation related to studies done. Ross, you know more about them specifically, but that have to do with the remaining staff members of the library. So that study was underway, or I guess completed, or is underway, but we don't have the results, Ross.
Yes.
On that one, you can speak to that more. So it quite literally applies to, I think 98% of the entire workforce.
Yeah, so at the same time that we requested this study be completed, the city is also, or has been working on a comparison or a market study for a little over 100 positions throughout the city, or 100 job categories, I should say. And so that study, which was started approximately 2 years ago, includes some of our positions in administration as well as our librarian threes.
Robert, did you have a question?
I did. There's a distinction to be made between wages or salary and other compensation, health benefits and pension and that sort of thing. I was under the impression that we had a generous, and I don't know the facts, but that we had a generous other compensation, and that if they were totaled together, that the numbers might be closer. But it sounds to me like if it's being done, if the study is being done in a comprehensive way, then in total, they are behind, we are behind the 10 and 20%. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's part of the reason why the city has certain jurisdictions that it considers as competitors and others that it does not, even though they're in the same immediate area. So for example, I mentioned DC. DC is not a competitor, but these other jurisdictions have similar other benefits, health, pension, what have you. So we should be, salary-wise, we should be competitive with them, considering our benefits are similarly aligned.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yes, Kathleen.
The firefighters and the police are in a similar situation and are saying that they're one of the lowest in our region. Ross, do you have any kind of informal readout from the HR people in the city? Is this possible that we're going to be able to up the salaries?
Well, so it's good. It's a good mention, because the police, when they went before city council, they highlighted the study that HR did to adjust police salaries, or the need to adjust police salaries. So HR is supportive of this adjustment once they complete their study. The next step will be the hard part, I think, and Rose can probably speak to this more, going before budget, and then I presume council to make this adjustment to our budget.
The challenge for public safety is that, and the city does look at its public safety with regularity. I mean, there is no way the city could have gotten away with, I mean, I've been making a request for 6 years. You can truly believe that public safety has been looked at for like every couple of years they examine public safety. The challenge is that because we are a competitive area, that in order for the city to compete for those public safety officers, then they have to continuously review them and consider increasing their levels. Whereas, and if you're doing just public safety, then you will find on the general scale, the GS employees, that we hear from our employees, they feel somewhat overlooked because their positions have never received the type of review with regularity that public safety review, that the public safety review does take place. And I don't want to put Elizabeth on the spot, but as a council member, I'd like to allow you to weigh in on this, especially if I have a correct take on that.
So I think, as you noted before, that compensation is one of the sort of top issues going into next year's budget, and it's something that'll be looked at across the board. Obviously, I will not be on the council next year when they look at the budget, but I do know that all of the 3 incoming council members have been really active and engaged. They were at the city council budget retreat, I think the Saturday after the election. They've been attending our city council meetings. I think they've been in the room for certain different briefings as well. So they're very apprised of sort of what's going on and what needs to happen. I think one other thing well, I don't know if Kathleen, if this was necessarily your question, but I think one of the challenges with public safety as well, or my interpretations of it, there's a lot of pay compression as well. There's a lot of different salary grades within public safety, and sometimes that creates some challenges. So there might not be, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but there can be issues at different levels within public safety. We might be above the pay range in a certain area and below it in others, for example. But I don't know if that was the question. I think I went more off on public safety than on library, but I think obviously this is a huge issue for the city. We want to make sure that we're keeping our employees and able to recruit and retain our employees, because we recognize how important they are to the city and to doing the work that we need to do.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Any other questions or comments from any of the board members? And Oscar, we welcome you. We're sorry that you were a little delayed.
I'm sorry, I got hung up on something anyway, whatever.
That's okay. That's okay. We're glad you're here.
So Trudy, I just want to conclude by saying that as you all are aware, we have a new city manager, Jim Parajan, and he officially starts January the 18th. However, our focus area teams will be meeting the first week of January. They're trying to select a date in which in the past, we would normally go. So the information I provided and shared with you today pertaining to the library, we would make a presentation before the city manager for him to ask us additional questions to help determine whether or not an item does indeed deserve to be in tier 1 versus tier 2 or tier 3. He will be a part of that meeting the first week of January. And so since he is a new player to us, it will be interesting to see how it is or what it takes to help him understand why the things we've identified, why he won't want to touch them or why he will want to support them. We will have the deputy city manager in the room will be, of course, Deborah Collins, and the other deputies are invited. And then, of course, this budget, Office of Management and Budget. So Morgan Rout will be there. And then we have the budget analyst who's assigned to us, Megan, will be in the room. And so that's where it will be interesting. All the work we've done thus far now goes to the next level, which is to the city manager. And because it's a new city manager, he has stated that he will not be making any changes to the process this year. He wants to go through it and learn how we do things. And then from that, he'll learn and make decisions pertaining to next year. So the first week of January, we'll be sharing our why we have our reductions where they are, why we have the supplementals we're requesting. He'll take a couple of weeks and then he will roll out his recommendations to the city council at that point. And then we'll know exactly what he's accepted and what he hasn't. And if he doesn't accept those things that we identified as reductions we don't want to take and he thinks they should be, that's when we'll reach out to the board and the friends so that you can advocate on the behalf of the library's budget. So at this point in the process, there's really nothing needed of this body right now because I'm at the last part of the focus area team process, and then it will go to the city manager and he will then make his recommendations. He will propose his budget to city council. And when he does that, that's when we'll know where we actually stand.
What's the time frame for that, Rose? Should we expect that we would have something substantial by February meeting or?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We will have something substantial by our February meeting.
Good. Okay. There was a second item under old business, the reopening plan and the new normal. Did you have comments?
Okay. So where the reopening is concerned, you'll recall that in our September meeting, I reminded the group that what we were looking to do was roll out our new normal at the beginning of the next calendar year. So in January, we were looking at making changes. We had meetings with the branch managers to discuss this because while we are very proud of the services that we're currently offering, we do realize that other jurisdictions went ahead and rolled their new normals out already. And so we were looking at where we would fall with ours. One of the things was we were looking at it being the middle to the latter part of January. With the new spike and the new variants, I have to tell you, the listservs blew up on Friday. So the Urban Libraries Council, that was included my colleagues in Colorado and California, as well as this area. The listserv for the Virginia Public Library Directors, and they're all talking about whether or not they're rolling back services and certain things that they are going to stop. So I feel pretty good about where we are. We were discussing expanding our hours and what would our new normal look like. It was going to look like the branches needing to be open the rest of the days of the week. You know, that was a no-brainer. We were discussing what the hours of the days of the week needed to look like. We were discussing what did the programming look like, because we currently do no indoor programming and other jurisdictions had started. So we were having conversations, the meeting rooms, making the meeting rooms available to the public again. And now this has happened, and most of the people are trying to roll back to where we are. So I just wanted to say that we are making our decisions as we've always done, and that is based on the criteria that we followed. And so first and foremost, CDC recommendations as well as the Department of Health. And so right now, I would say that we are not looking at making any changes. You'll recall we just started opening at 10 a.m. That is in place. That was an improvement. We actually opened up on Sundays starting back in August, and that seems to have worked. And so we're going to sit tight with what we have right now. We are going to wait until January. I sat in on the situational awareness meeting this morning, which is where the health department provides us with the updates of where things are. And then we hear what the potential projections are for Alexandria and what they look like. And so based on that information, they are not, and the city manager on last Friday, he actually rolled back his hours and everything where their departments were concerned. He rolled them back about how many people have to be in the offices and everything. So he has put his things back into place until January the 7th. And then they're going to take another look and see whether or not it needs to roll back even more. So for us, we were looking at considering trying to roll things out after the King holiday. At this point, we are going to sit tight on that because we're looking to lean more towards February to consider letting people, to increase the number in the building, letting people use the meeting rooms, offering any indoor programming, specifically story times. There is a lot of demand for story hours, but that is the audience who cannot be vaccinated. And so I have staff who have some underlying health conditions. They have some concerns about being in a closed environment with those audiences. It is hard to corral little people who need to run and be up and moving, who come and run up and hug your leg or grab the things off the storyboard. And so we're really taking great care that we make the right decisions and that they are timely. So for now, we are going to remain true to the existing hours and services that we are providing.
And that includes these closed days, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, like Tuesdays and Thursdays at Barrett, which I should have been paying more attention, but I keep showing up on the wrong days and the whole library's closed all
I'm
day.
sorry.
But so that's just going to stay in place for a while.
It is. We knew we couldn't roll it out before because remember, we have all the staff who have use or lose, myself included. And so there was no point in trying to do anything over this holiday timeframe. And the use or lose period they have up until January the 8th. So that first week of January was off the table anyway.
Okay. Tough times we're in. Key thing is to keep everybody safe. Does that include the agenda that we're allowed to cover then? And I'm not going to add an agenda item because I'm not allowed, but I can't let this meeting close without noting that this is Elizabeth's last meeting with us as an Alexandria Library Board, and we hate that you're leaving. Do you have any parting shot for us, Elizabeth? A bit of advice or anything that you'd like to say before we end?
Well, thank you, Trudy. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with all of you. I've really enjoyed my time on the Alexandria Library Board, and I am sad to leave as well. But I also know that you'll have another new member of council or another member of council, replacing me, and I'm sure they'll do a great job. And then I also hope to continue, or I will be continuing to work with you in my new role. I was hoping to, I had requested a draft of the e-publisher bill that we have spoken about previously, or sort of e-book bill, sorry, not e-publisher, you know what I'm talking about. It's been a long day, week, month, year. Like Maryland had introduced, unfortunately, I recently learned that Maryland got sued over that law within the past week or so. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like that will move forward this year in Virginia, but hopefully, pending on how that plays out in Maryland, would certainly want to work with that next year, and then continue to advocate on behalf of libraries and work with you on issues that the General Assembly can help libraries with. So I will still be around. You know how to reach me. And again, we'll see each other, and it's not really goodbye. So, but thank you again.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and congratulations and best of luck on your new position as delegate, our state delegate. And I know you're going to have a lot of fun in Richmond. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a call for adjournment then?
I move we adjourn.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of just wave? Good. Okay, this is a wave goodbye. And now this is the adjournment